Hey guys, I've decided to make a part 2 on this video and expand on some of the things I was talking about. After watching it back, I realized there might have been maybe more I could have said or kind of more in-depth stuff. So we're going to do a little recap here of some of the stuff I talked about last time. So we talked about how you as a person are constantly emitting a frequency. And the universe, we can talk about it as a resonance chamber or like a sound booth. You can even think about it as maybe a mirror. I don't know, like the one you have maybe in your bedroom or something. And this signal that you're constantly projecting out, the universe's job is to reflect that back to you. And then that is how you perceive your reality. That is how you manifest things. We talked about how the frequency in which you are constantly emitting that is getting reflected back to you by the universe is comprised of your subconscious and your conscious mind, and how your conscious mind is only about 5%, and your subconscious mind is around 95%. Those two things together equal the signal that you broadcast out that then gets reflected back to you as your experience here on Earth, right? As your reality. We talked about some of the ways your subconscious can get programmed, such as generational, right? When you are born or you're in the womb, here's your womb, and here's little old you. The environment has an energetic signal, and that can also come from people, places, things, right, that your mother interacted with while she was pregnant with you, create a vibrational frequency. I don't even know what that was. Create a vibrational frequency. And how your own mother's subconscious also has a frequency, right? And how those two things get stored in you. We touched briefly on how subconscious patterns and energy patterns and beliefs affect your DNA. And we can talk about that here too. If anybody knows how to make this eraser bigger, I'm sure there's a way to do it. I'm just not very coordinated, I guess. Computer coordinated. Okay, so you have, I'll do blue for dad, right? This is going to be my DNA. And I'll do red for mom DNA. So the energy, right, that person is carrying in their subconscious affects the genes in the DNA, and it can either turn them on or off or affect them based on the environment. So if either the mother or the father or both grew up in a place that was scarce in resources, or grew up in an environment that wasn't safe for whatever reason, those subconscious patterns are going to be stored, and then they are going to be transferred into the DNA. And they will affect how the genes are turned on and off in the DNA. which will then affect the child as it is born. And the child will then be born, right? And the cycle will continue to their children and continue to their children, and so on and so forth, right? This energetic code that is stored in the DNA will get passed down on and on. And this can be referred to as generational karma. Okay. And I can just hear some people now. Well, it's my parents' fault that I'm like this. They gave me these codes. They believed that money was hard to get and that you had to work really hard for money and XYZ. And what you need to understand is, one, they weren't conscious of this. Okay. It's not their fault. They were unaware. They were ignorant to this. Not in a bad way, not like they chose to. I mean, maybe they might have, but they were unaware of this. Okay. It's not necessarily their fault. And two, you need to understand that you chose to be born into this family with these genetic codes already running through them. And because we have free will, you decided which of these codes you wanted to or didn't want to take on. You decided that. So it's up to you now to decide what you want to do, if you want to face these things. And I talked in my last video about how I see and overcome and change these codes. There are many ways to do it. That is just one of the most successful ways that I have found. We also talked about how the God, so this is God or source, created the universe. And for this example, the universe is just going to be this like 3D box, okay? Your soul exists actually with God right here, right? And actually, you are part of God. You were never separate from God. I think of God as like a big circle. This may be easy to visualize, with like billions and trillions of little eyes all over it. And just two of those eyes are you. And you think of how big and massive and, trillions and billions. That's just one way to maybe comprehend what I'm talking about here. You are individual, but not separate from God, okay? So your soul exists outside of the universe in timelessness, right? And the little window that we each have inside of us is our heart center, right? It is a little window or a portal. And I'm actually just going to draw the heart here so you can see. Is a little portal. I don't know how I'm going to draw a portal here. Maybe I'll draw it like it's a little portal to your soul while you are in the universe. Okay, so your soul exists outside of time and space. In the universe, time is just a perception, okay? It's a bunch of events that are just strung together and played almost like a film strip in order to relay an experience. And God, Source, has actually created many universes, all with different purposes, right? It's just we're going to talk about this one. So we talked about changing our codes, right? Removing codes that we don't want, and how that affects and changes our reality. We talked about generational trauma. What I want to talk about now is the effect that it has once you start clearing out all these negative codes. So what you need to understand is not everybody is going to wake up to this realization that this is how it works. And I know a lot of people, especially right now, are going through some type of an awakening, and they're starting to realize all of this. And what we need to understand is not everybody's meant to wake up, and it's such an individual thing that when and if they are supposed to wake up, they will seek out this information on their own, and it will be presented to them in some way or another. And it may be your job to be somebody to teach people, but it may not be. And it doesn't mean that you're better, right? So, in the eyes of God, remember, God is this, if you want to think about it as a giant circle with trillions and billions of eyes all over it, it's only doing it to experience things and learn about itself. So, the homeless person sitting outside and the rich guy inside, both of their experiences are equally important to God. They're equally valid to God. So just because you are aware of this is how it works does not make you better or worse than anybody else. And there's going to be some type of reason why you know this. But what happens when so because you are always emitting this frequency, right? Other people can pick up on this, whether they are conscious of the fact that they can or not. And our brain is always tuning stuff out. To make sense of our reality. And depending on what you have decided you want to experience, some people may tune that out. But intuitively, on some level, they will pick up on your energy. All of your trauma, all of your experiences, they all contribute to this frequency. And when you start to heal yourself and you start to overcome and transmute those codes, right? And we talk about raising your frequency, we'll talk about neutrality, right? Your soul is in a place of neutrality. And you got happiness, and you got like sadness, fear. Okay, these are like what's considered low vibrational. These are low vibrational energies, which means that these energies, you want to think about it, vibrate at a lower rate versus happiness, right? Vibrates at a faster rate. So when they're talking about raising your vibration, they're not just talking about, oh, I'm going to ignore all the fear inside of me, or they're talking about transmuting all of those energies inside of yourself, inside of your subconscious. Again, 95% of your vibration of who you are is subconscious. So in order for you to actually raise your vibration, you actually have to. Here's my person again with my little head. I know it's a funny person. These lower vibrations of fear, right? In order to actually raise your vibration, you have to transmute these things. And what happens when you start clearing all of these out, you start entering more and more back into that place of peace. Again, your soul, right, is here in this place of neutrality. And that neutrality is here. It's just all these fears, right? They're all covering it up. All these emotions are covering up your core being to the point where the peace can't shine through. And once you start alchemizing, right? There's all these different terms that different people use, whatever one resonates with you. You get closer and closer, and you're not closer, but you uncover more and more of that peace gets to shine through. And the more that that's what your vibrational resonance says, and people will pick up on that. And what that'll do is you will be a mirror, right? As above, so below, the same patterns repeated over and over again. You will now be a mirror for their fears, right? That they haven't seen in themselves. They will feel this peaceful, like non-moving state, right? Because emotions, they undulate and will cause them inside of themselves, even if it's unconsciously, to notice that that is inside of you. You don't even have to do anything, just be around them. And that'll make them start to wake up in whatever way that they are meant to wake up. Because again, it's not your job to force people to wake up. In fact, you can delay their own spiritual process by trying to force people into it. The best way that we can wake the world up is by all of us on our own way, facing and alchemizing and transmuting these codes, these old codes inside of us. And once we start doing that, and our vibration is peace and love and happiness, other people sense that, even if they aren't aware of it. And that is honestly the most powerful way. All right, well, I'm running out of things to say here, so I'm going to end it. I just want to thank everybody who may have watched my first video. If they found something that resonated with it, if you have any questions or you don't understand something, feel free to leave a comment. I'd love to talk about it and describe it to you in hopefully a way you can understand. Like many things, there's many ways of looking at something. This is an example I use all the time. If you think of a can of beans, it's a cylinder, right? If you shine a light one way, the shadow is going to be a rectangle or a square. If you shine a light another way, there's my little flashlight, the shadow on this side is going to be a circle. Both of these things are true, right? Both of these shapes equally represent the sphere or the can. So a truth can be viewed at from two these are like opposite shapes, right? A circle and a rectangle or a square, like those are two opposite shapes. Yet they both accurately describe one aspect of the can. So just because you view something a certain way doesn't mean that the way somebody else views it isn't also true. So if this resonates with you, I'm glad. I just wanted to put this out there, hopefully to help. Even if this helps one person, it's worth it. It's amazing. If you have questions or something that you didn't really understand, please leave a comment. I'd love to talk with you about it and maybe give you my viewpoint on it. All right. Love you all.